Hey everyone, it's White Cross, and you have joined me for the first video in our new series we're calling The Gold Rookie. And this series is designed to help you new gold buyers as you make your first purchase by giving you a selection of items that you might want to consider for that very first gold purchase. So if you are a new visitor to the channel, I want to thank you for being here. Hope that you will subscribe to the channel so you can see all the rest of the videos in this series. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you as always for spending more time with me. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the fact that you are finding the information that I'm putting out helpful. And if you are a returning visitor but you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. So this video series is designed to give you some ideas in this vast and a little bit overwhelming area of buying physical gold. If you've never bought before, if you're really getting close to buying, hopefully you watched those 3 videos that we released recently that talked about why gold is gold, the gold weights and measures, and the gold purity. Those videos were designed to arm you with that information so you feel a little bit more confident when you make those first gold purchases. And this video series is going to give you some suggestions on what those purchases might be. So this one is about the Latin Monetary Union. I like to begin each of my videos with a disclaimer, and that disclaimer is simply that I am not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to give you financial advice. I'm simply trying to share some of my experiences. I've been buying and selling precious metals and rare coins for the last 30 or 40 years. And I also like to begin my videos with a concept or two. And the concept that I'd like to talk about in this video is one that you may have heard me mention before, and it's the idea of a premium. A premium is simply the amount of money that you have to pay over and above the value of the precious metals contained within whatever it is that you're buying. And a premium goes to pay for the seller's profit. It also helps keep their lights on, pays their rent, pays their employees. And it also covers the spread. If they're buying high and selling low, it doesn't eat up all of their profit. So the premium is usually expressed as a percentage or a dollar figure over and above the value of the precious metals contained within. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. Another concept I wanted to hit on that I haven't really touched on too much in the past is condition. When you are looking at your first gold purchases, especially if you're looking at coins, and especially if you're looking at these classic gold coins, I want you to take a moment and really look at the condition of the pieces that you're after. If your dealer, if you're buying in person, has several examples, take a few moments, take a loop with you. A loop is that jeweler's lens that you look through. You're looking for cartwheel luster that shows that the piece hasn't been cleaned. You're looking for condition issues. You're looking for the rims around the edge of the coin, because a lot of these early pieces made their way into jewelry. And if something has been soldered and put into some kind of a bezel, often the edges will show bits and pieces of wear at even intervals. So at 12 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock on the coin, you'll often find worn spots or extra blobs of metal. Jewelry pieces are not ideal. They have their place, but I want you to start off on the right foot, on the right path. So spend a few moments, look at the condition. You're looking for lots of bag marks, tick marks, contact marks, where you want to try to find the nicest piece you can, and you deserve it. Take a few extra moments. Your dealer's not going to mind. That's what they're there for. Condition. And we'll go deeper into condition as we go deeper into this series, but also as we start looking at some numismatic options, coin collecting options a little bit later in this series and forthcoming series. The Latin Monetary Union. That's what we're talking about in this suggestion of possibilities that you might want to consider for that first gold purchase. The Latin Monetary Union was a group of countries that got together in the mid-1800s and decided to make consistency important for all of their coinage. So they decided on a very specific size, weight, and purity for all of their gold and silver coins. And then they also established a ratio between those gold and silver pieces. So the coins that they decided to mint were 6.451 grams of 900 pure, that is 90% pure gold. On a planchet, that's a coin the size of 21 millimeters. A little bit of specific information, but I'll give you some examples here. This is an early French 20 franc piece, and this is a later Swiss 20 franc piece. And you can see that they are virtually identical in terms of size and shape. And that's because these were both members of the Latin Monetary Union. Some other countries that were included, we mentioned France, Belgium, Italy, Switzerland again. Countries that joined a little bit later, Spain and Romania. And some other countries decided to throw in with this group, even if they didn't sign on to these particular treaties. Those included countries like Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Finland, Serbia. Even the big country of Austria-Hungary decided to mint coins that were to this standard. And the whole idea of this was that it would facilitate trade across borders. You no longer had to kind of maneuver from francs to marks to lira to any other kinds of currency. The gold unit was the same, the silver unit was the same. Some exceptions to that. England, although it was close geographically, did not join this treaty. So they will be one of the other videos that we show a little bit later. And this is an example of an English sovereign. English sovereign was their main gold coin from the same period of time. They didn't have the same standard as the Latin Monetary Union, so they kept the sovereigns the same as they had been throughout the last 100 years preceding the Latin Monetary Union. And they kept that standard all the way up until modern times. So we will talk about sovereigns. I do feel like they are another really good option for you to consider. Another option you might want to consider, and we'll talk about these also, these are American gold coins from about the same period of time. So we're talking from roughly the early 1800s till the first couple of decades of the 20th century. And these are $5 gold pieces. These were our United States of America circulating gold coins at the same time. These pieces also 90% pure silver. Two other areas that we'll talk about in the rest of this series, we'll talk about modern pieces. These are quarter eagles. These are America's modern gold bullion coin, and these weigh exactly 1/4 of an ounce. And we'll also talk about modern gold commemorative pieces. I think they are an overlooked area of gold buying, and I think they offer a lot of advantages, so keep your eyes out for them. What do they all have in common? These Latin Monetary Union pieces, the English sovereigns, the American $5 gold pieces, and some of the other gold pieces that America released, and the modern quarter eagles or quarter maples or quarter ounce, quarter troy ounce pieces, and those modern commemoratives that I talked about a second ago, they all have a relatively low price point. So one of the nice things about these options, if you are new to buying gold and sticking your toe in the water for the first time, it's not an overwhelming amount of money. We're talking somewhere right now, even with gold's elevated price the way it's been for the last month or two or three, we're talking about $375 for each one of these. We talked a little bit about premium at the beginning of this video, and I wanted to mention that again here. Give you some examples. So this is a French Lucky Angel piece. So this is a 20 franc piece. These were made from about 1871 to about 1898. This is a very attractive coin. I mentioned cartwheel luster briefly when we were talking about condition. You can see the way that the light kind of follows around almost like a bicycle spokes. That's cartwheel luster, and that generally, not always, shows that a coin has not been cleaned. Those angels are a very popular gold coin from the Latin Monetary Union. This is another one. These came right after the angels. A beautiful symbol there on the front of these French pieces, and on the back is a gorgeous rooster. That was another symbol of France, and you can see that cartwheel luster there again. So we talked about premiums. Premiums, the amount that you have to pay over and above the value of the gold. While premiums right now are really, really high for a lot of the modern pure gold coins and even the alloyed coins like the American Gold Eagle, these bullion pieces that are made specifically to be bullion, Believe it or not, most of the pieces from these Latin monetary union countries have very low premiums. The angels, the roosters, very, very common pieces from this era. Right now, they have about $371 worth of gold value in them. And I looked at AppMex, which is an online bullion trading company, right before I shot this video. They've got these available right now for about $405 a piece. So not much of a premium over and above the value of the gold. You're talking $25 or so. That is a pretty low premium, and to me, I think that's a great bargain. One thing to know about these ones in particular is, and we'll talk about these a little bit later, is that some of these are restrikes. That means they have an older date than they were actually minted. Nothing wrong with that. The gold value is the same. The purity is the same. It just meant that France actually had a need for a whole bunch of these, and they wanted to have an earlier date on them, so they took the opportunity and minted it with an earlier date, a restrike. And we'll talk about those a little bit later. Not really important to this discussion. Low premiums, but they are also easy to sell. So all of these pieces, here's the example of the Swiss coin again. There's the angel. This is an even earlier French 20 franc piece. These are all pretty well-known pieces. Any bullion dealer who knows what they're doing will buy and sell these without batting an eye. These are pretty common pieces, made in the millions, still very, very popular in Europe. And they're popular with a lot of gold buyers here in the United States as well. So, some of the benefits to the Latin monetary union pieces. I mentioned before that they have a set ratio to silver. These are examples of Latin monetary union silver pieces. And some of these date all the way back to the very early 1800s. And they are a fascinating group in and of themselves. So one benefit to the Latin monetary union pieces is that there are corresponding silver pieces. And these silver pieces are great too, because each one of these, the standard that they set for each one of these big silver coins, we commonly call those a crown. That's kind of the generic name because it usually has the ruler on the front. These crowns from the Latin monetary union, 25 grams of 90% pure or 900 fine silver. How does that compare to an American silver dollar? You might be more familiar with those. An American silver dollar, just 26.73 grams of 900 pure. So 25 grams versus 26.73. Remember, a gram is about the weight of a big paper clip. So there's not much of a difference. You can see that they're very similar. The premiums on pieces like these Morgan dollars have gone astronomical recently. And I think some of these Latin monetary union pieces are a little bit overlooked. Every bit as interesting, in my opinion, and sometimes you can get these for little or no premium. In fact, almost all of the examples that you see here were pieces that I've bought over the years with a very small premium. So, standard size weight to these gold coins, 21 millimeter size, 90% purity, standard weight of 0.1867 troy ounces. That's how much all of these weigh. Not these folks, they're not part of this system, but everybody else that you see here, all the rest of these gold coins that you see here, all part of this Latin monetary union. They all weigh 0.1867 troy ounces of pure gold. The pieces are abundant. Also, another benefit to these. They are everywhere. You can find these and they're not difficult to find unless you're talking about the really, really scarce ones, which is another benefit to these. If you decide to take a deeper dive into the Latin monetary union pieces, you can go after examples from every country. You can go after the examples of early pieces. This is a piece actually from Napoleon's reign. This is a Napoleonic 20 franc from 1811. And I bought this many, many years ago and did not pay a premium for it, or very little premium for it. So you can go as deep into these as you want to. There are lots of beautiful and interesting pieces that you can find. And that's another benefit to these Latin monetary union pieces. Also, they have that relatively low price point across the board. So you're talking about $375 at today's gold price. Gold fluctuates pretty quickly, so you'll have to double check before you're buying, but that's a pretty low entry level for somebody who's just starting out. I like a lower price point as you're testing the waters and getting used to it. That's a pretty affordable piece for most people. And the low premiums is a fantastic thing too. The amount that you have to pay over the amount of the gold, quite small on these compared to some of those more modern pieces that are pure gold. There's the silver that you can use. The ubiquity, the fact that there are so many of these means that they're relatively easy to sell as well. Always look at that exit strategy. If you're able to find these pretty easily, you'll probably be able to sell these pretty easily. Now, of course, there are some downsides to these pieces, and I want to make sure that you are armed with as much information as I can possibly give you if you are going to consider buying these pieces. But the negatives to the Latin Monetary Union pieces are actually pretty small in my opinion, and they are that these aren't pure gold. Remember how I said that these are 90% pure gold or 900 fine? Modern gold pieces, modern bullion pieces tend to be either 24 karat, that's 999 fine, or 22 karat like these American Gold Eagles, 91.67% pure. So modern pieces tend to be a lot more pure. There's nothing wrong with 900 fine gold. It was a standard that's been used for hundreds of years. Just keep in mind that these pieces are not pure gold, and also that they are not in simple, easy to understand troy ounce increments. Troy ounces are the weight system that all precious metals are weighed in. Again, this is an example of a quarter troy ounce. It's really easy when you're looking at the spot price of gold. Remember the daily gold price. So if you're checking a website like Kitco, to see what the daily gold price is. And if you've got 1 ounce gold coins, you know exactly how much gold you have, how much it's worth. If you've got a ½ ounce gold coin, you know exactly how much that is. Easy to separate it, divide it by 2. If you've got these quarter ounce pieces, divide it by 4. At 0.25, it's a pretty easy calculation. These Latin Monetary Union pieces, as I said before, are 0.1867, so a little bit smaller than a quarter of an ounce. In fact, a little bit smaller than a fifth of an ounce. So they're not an exact fraction of a troy ounce, but I don't find that that's that big of a problem, because if you're multiplying the gold price by 0.25 to find out how much a quarter of an ounce is worth, it's not much more difficult to multiply the gold price by 0.1867. It's an easy step, but it is one factor you should consider. And finally, that lower premium. The reason that the premiums on these is lower is because there is currently a lower demand. And if there's a lower demand now, it stands to reason that there may be a lower demand when and if you finally go to sell yourself. So just a few other things to keep in mind. Not pure gold. They're not an easy fraction of a troy ounce, although I don't think that's really that large of a problem. And that lower demand may mean fewer buyers or a little bit more difficulty when it comes time to sell. I've been doing this for many, many decades, and I've never really seen a problem with that before. The upcoming videos we're going to be making, again, we're going to talk about the sovereigns. We're going to talk about the American gold pieces from about the same period of time. We're going to talk about those quarter troy ounce pieces. Again, all of these pieces have a relatively low price point, a very low entry point. We'll talk a little bit about Mexican gold, because I think that is an interesting option as well, the modern Mexican gold pieces. And just really briefly, I wanted to show you an American nickel and how it compares to these pieces that I've been talking about. You can see that most of these pieces, this is a sovereign, this is the angel. You can see it's right about the same size. Come on, we're looking at focus. There we go. About the same size of an American nickel, just to give you a scale. Those will be some of the pieces that we'll be talking about in the upcoming videos. Again, these aren't all the options that you have out there. There are so many options, but I've chosen these pieces specifically for your new gold buyers out there because they have a lot of benefits. And I think that these are really good ideas as you're dipping your toe in the water and making that first gold purchase. There we go. The first video on suggestions for early gold buyers, for younger gold buyers, for newer gold buyers. If you have any questions about the pieces that we've talked about here today, leave a comment down below and I'll try to address it when I can. If you have any other suggestions or requests, if there's any other areas that you'd like to see me make a video in for this series, those newer gold buyers, or for any other videos that you'd like to see on precious metals or rare coins, drop a line down below and I'll see if I've got the knowledge and the inventory to kind of help with that kind of discussion as well. Remember to like and subscribe. Always a big help, especially if you're subscribing. I really appreciate those subscribers. And as always, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey as you go deeper into the world of physical precious metals.